The reason for the video is because I'm doing trying to update you on flow batteries. I've been looking into flow batteries for basically months. It's difficult to get information about them, but they're a very good storage medium, and they would actually be good. They're, obviously intended for grids, microgrid storage, that kind of thing, power storage, and technically for solar, renewable energy, basically solar, wind, and so forth. However, they would actually be very good for someone that had a solar system that wanted to be off grid, for example, and store your power. There's a few good things about flow batteries, and there's a number of different kinds out there. I won't go into all that. I'll just show you the two that I know that are out there, shipping product that you might actually be able to buy one. Cellcube is made by American Vanadium. It's AmericanVanadium.com. That's VANADIUM, Vanadium. So if you look up and look under Cellcube, then you can look under models. Now, this one is company's actually out in Nevada. So I think it's Eureka, Nevada. They bought a well, I don't know if it was already there, but they're going to mine vanadium out there in Nevada. So I guess they bought a mine or an area where they're going to mine. And they're already making this flow battery. And of course it uses vanadium. A lot of people, they call them Redox batteries. And there's different kinds. I know I've seen at least 10 technologies that may or may not become available in the next 5 or 10 or 20 years, but these companies are actually shipping batteries now. I think this battery is actually made in Australia, or not Australia, Austria, and the company is based out of Canada, but they're opening this new place in Eureka. So you can get a battery into the United States. It's UL listed, and here if you look are the models. Now this is the smallest one, the Cellcube FB10. And I inquired in this battery. Apparently I could actually buy this. The way these batteries work is they output X amount of power. So think of them as having like an inverter where you've got a battery inside and the inverter gives you AC power. So the battery inside is a liquid that has a, think of it as an electrolyte that goes from one tank to another and that kind of thing. So the battery has a rating. The power output is how much power it can give you, the maximum amount of power it can give you, and then the storage capacity is how much storage inside the battery in these tanks. Now you can buy them with different tanks, which gives you different storage capacity in kilowatt hours, as you see. So last time I inquired, which was about a month or so ago, the biggest one they had was a 100 kilowatt hour storage capacity. Now you can see they have a 10 kilowatt, a 20, and a 30, and then obviously they just go up from there. There's a 200, for example, which is very big. I inquired about the FB10-100, which has 100 kilowatt hours of storage capacity, and it'll give you 10 kilowatt hours maximum. Maybe usually these will, just like an inverter, they'll actually be able to give you a little extra power for a short amount of time if you're kicking on air conditioners or motors, that kind of thing. Usually they'll give you a little extra, but only for a short period of time, and then they cut back. So the FB10-100, they quoted me, was $100,000. Well, okay, that's a lot of money. However, if you look at how flow batteries work, number one, your big problem that you have with lead acid batteries is you can only actually drain them to a certain amount, typically maybe half, 50%, 60%, something like that, as far as you really want to drain a battery. Some of them, I know Trojan now has a 2-volt commercial that's supposed to be able to drain it to 80%. However, the farther you drain it, the less cycle life you're going to get out of the battery. So if you only drain it to like 20%, you may be able to get 5,000 cycles, recharge cycles out of the battery. But if you're draining it down to halfway, or like that one, 80%, then you're going to cut the cycles way back down to maybe 1,000 or less. So the amount of drain makes a difference on how long those batteries are going to last. With these flow batteries, they're already made to discharge 100%. So whatever power, if you have 100 if you've built up 100 kilowatts of storage in that battery, you can drain it 100 kilowatts out of it. So you could drain 10 kilowatts for 10 hours. Think of it that way. Now, most people wouldn't do that on a home system, for example. Hopefully, they're never using anywhere near that kind of power. Right now, I'm only partially off grid, and I only use about maybe 13 kilowatts a day. I'm basically just running my garage and some odds and ends off of the battery system I've got. But I want to expand it, so I'm looking into what would be the best battery choice. And I've looked into flow batteries because I thought really that's the best way to go if you could get one. Apparently, this American Vanadium might actually sell you one. It's UL listed and $100,000. The life cycle on the battery, well, they expect it to last, I think, 20 years. They warranty it. Can't remember if this one's warranty 10 years or 20 years, but there's some maintenance on the battery. They want to, I guess, check it, make sure the pumps and the membranes and all that, how the battery functions, is in good shape. So I'm not sure how all that's done, but there is some maintenance. Mainly they want to check it, make sure there's no leaks, all that kind of thing. They need to check it on a yearly basis. So that seems pretty common. So that might actually run into some money. So the problem is whether they have someone close by to you. So if you're in their market area, which is typically California or maybe New York, someplace on the East Coast, something like that, if you're in that market area, then they'll have a maintenance person that can come out and do it. If you're not in that area, then either they won't save the battery or they would have to fly somebody out or some crazy thing like that. I don't know. I don't know how all that's going to work out, but I can tell you price-wise, when you look at what you can do with that battery, basically there's your inverter and there's your battery storage all in one thing. So I'm going to show you another one here in just a second, but this one they say brings in to your input is actually AC power. So in other words, it's kind of made for like if you have a generator, which would normally be a backup, you could use a generator at full power to charge the battery and charge it up that way. If you're bringing in solar power, then you're going to have to convert that to AC. So I guess you're going to have to basically run it through an inverter and then into the battery to recharge the batteries. I don't know if they're going to put a DC charging on it. I guess they would have to at some point if they're going to do connect it to solar PV type grid systems. That would make more sense to bring the power from the panels directly to the battery and charge it with DC. But, you know, be that as it may, they said it was AC, so I'm not sure. We were only talking about the smallest one. Basically, that's the smallest battery. Now, they do have a 10-40, which only has 40 kilowatt hours of actual storage capacity. Still give you 10 kilowatts for 4 hours at maximum output. So the thing is, if you're only pulling 1 kilowatt hour, well, if you're only pulling 1 kilowatt, then it would run for 40 hours at 1 kilowatt. Obviously, your power consumption varies dramatically during the day. It's off, on, off, on. So the main thing is how much power can you build up in that battery. So obviously you want to get pretty much the biggest thing you can. I'm not sure how much. I'm not sure if there's really that much difference in price between the 40 versus the 100, because the container, I believe, is basically one size. So you just get less membranes, less storage, less vanadium inside the container. Maybe it's a little smaller for 40. It may only be like a half of a size of a normal one or something. I'm not sure. But the main thing is you could actually buy that. So if you go out there looking on the web for information on flow batteries and try to find one that you can actually buy, that's the problem. You can't really find anything. This is the only one I've actually found that it appeared that they were actually willing to sell it to me as long as I had $100,000 to buy it, and I could pay for the maintenance, the yearly maintenance on it, which I didn't really inquire into the actual cost of that. But the main thing is they plan on hitting specific markets with it. But a big market would actually be your off-grid residential, because right now we only have so many batteries that we can buy and choose from, and none of them are all that cheap. and their cycles don't necessarily last a long time. You can have one battery go bad and all of a sudden you've got a big problem. So, you know, looking into something like this would be great. Yes, it's a pretty good size apparatus. I have plenty of space. It's not a problem. But at any rate, that's the pluses and minuses. Basically, your cycles probably basically last your lifetime in a residential situation. So that would be one big plus. You don't have to change the vanadium. The main thing that wears out are the membranes that work inside, that make it work inside. You might have a pump, you've got pumps, and other than that you've got tanks which could leak, and that's the basics of it. So not necessarily a whole lot of things to worry about. It could last basically your lifetime if you bought it, which would be a big plus price wise. If you look at it for long term, spending $100,000 on that battery is a worthwhile investment if you have the money to do it. Obviously, if you are a little more wealthier and have that kind of money, there would not be any real reason I could see not to buy a battery like that. And there are others. There's a zinc bromide battery, which is supposed to be a lot better than vanadium. Well, let's switch over here to this Imergy. That's Imergy.com. And under their products, you'll see this ESP5 Series. Now, this is their smallest one, and this would actually be perfect for a residential customer. 5 kilowatt peak, and it'll bump up to 7.5 kilowatt hours. So it has a little extra, like I said. But 5 kilowatts, that's probably as much as most small homes would use on any given time during the day. They might be pulling 5,000 watts, and yes, a home could easily pull more. So you could have a couple of these in parallel. I guess they would be in parallel. You could have a couple of these out there in parallel. The capacity range, you can buy it in a 15 or a 30 kilowatt hour, and here again they'll go down to 100% depth of discharge. And it tells you the size 2.2 meters by 1.22 by 2.15. So, what is that, about a little over 6 feet? 6 by 3 by 6 approximately. Here again, the good thing about this ESP5 series, it's not UL listed, but that might be okay for someone that's not in the city, that doesn't, or if it's not actually required for your installation. It's made in India, but they say that it would be under $20,000. Here again, they would have to come out and check it once a year, so they'd have to have an on-site inspection of the battery and that kind of thing. So they only plan on selling it basically New York area, East Coast up in there, and then out in California, maybe Oregon. So that's the only places they plan on servicing at the moment. They're just now bringing it into the United States. So here again, it could be purchased, but they don't really want to sell it to a residential customer. So it would actually be the perfect battery for a residential customer. And they do have bigger ones. Here's their ESP30, which is a 30 up to a 50 kilowatt hour, and then the storage would be 120 to 200. So yeah, that would be great. You can see it's a lot bigger. It's basically a 20-foot container, they say. So that's about 6 times as much. I could figure 6 times the price. So if it was about the same on price, it would probably be around $120,000 for, which would actually be a great price even compared to American Vanadium. But this is used vanadium is what they're using here. However, I don't think that's a big deal from talking with them. The vanadium doesn't actually wear out. It's the battery itself that goes bad. The membranes in the system, they wear out over time, they degrade, that kind of thing, and then eventually those have to be replaced. Your pumps have to be replaced eventually, that kind of thing. So what it's doing is it's pumping, if you think of it as like a regular battery, you're pumping fluid from one container into another. If it's going this way, it's charging, and if you're pumping the other way, it's discharging, or actually there's multiple tanks usually in each battery, so it's charging and discharging at the same time, the same way you would use any other system. And then your input on this, they said, was DC, so this is actually made for like a 48 volt DC. And I know where they're going to use these is like in telephone office systems where they have generator backups. They can use that to keep the telephone system up and running full time. So that's made 48 volt. They use 48 volts as far as I know. So there's a lot of industrial applications, I suppose, that already use 48 volt systems, and that would fit right in. So at under $20,000 for that, that would be the perfect thing to sell to residential customers. Apparently they don't feel like they want to hit that market, maybe for a few years, but so that's kind of too bad. If you get your hands on one and get it installed, it would be, price-wise, this would be a perfect thing. And then if you needed more power, if you needed kilowatt, 10 kilowatts peak output with the extra, which would make it a 15, up to 15, $40,000 for that. And then you could have 60 kilowatts of storage inside the batteries. That would be awesome. That's the big problem I have with my system now. Once the batteries are charged up, well, I might have plenty of sun out there where I could bring in more power and store it, but if my batteries are full, then it's just, I'm just wasting the energy. It's just not going, the energy's not going anywhere. So yeah, okay, you could put more batteries in, but your batteries and your solar panels and your charge controller all have to be sized. And the thing is, it's just not that simple to just throw more batteries in. That's just not the way it works. So getting lead acid batteries and battery packs, you know, now you need multiple packs or something like that where you can pull from one and be charging another. I don't know, it's just not a simple thing. Where here in these type batteries, that would be perfect for a small off-grid system. That would be the perfect thing if you get your hands on that Imergy. Maybe if some people that are interested in this product were writing them and asking for it. If some of the bigger companies like Outback or Magnum or whoever that are out here selling solar systems, selling the charge controllers, selling the inverters, if they were inquiring into Imergy about how to get one of these systems and start using it, integrating it into their system, maybe we could actually have a battery like that. The battery's available. The price is right. People would buy it. All it really needs now is people out here in the mainstream saying, hey, I'd like to buy this, and get the demand up. And then and that's basically the reason I'm doing the video. If you go on YouTube, start looking around for residential flow batteries, that kind of thing, you just can't really find any good information. So since I'd spent so much time working on this, I thought I'd just shoot a short video and kick it up there on YouTube and let you guys see that really there are products, and there are a number of other companies. Like I say, this is just 2 of at least 10 I've already inquired into. I'm still waiting. It takes a long time generally for these people to get back to you to give you information. They don't put the information you want to know on their website, and the pricing and availability and all this kind of stuff. It's just not on their website. So you have to call or you have to send them emails and then wait and then go back and forth before you can generally get to talk to somebody and just explain to them what, you know, you'd like to buy a battery. Then you just find out all the reasons they give you why you can't buy it. But really, if the demand was there, and I think any of you that are off-grid or would like to be off-grid, if you would inquire into this Imergy and try to get whoever your solar system you're buying that from, talk to the inverter companies, the charge controller companies, and get these companies to know about this battery, send them the information. If there's enough demand for it, then at some point maybe we'll actually have one, and the sooner the better. So a lot of it's supply and demand. You have to have the demand. The battery's there, the price is right. We should be able to kick up some demand here. So that's all I'm trying to bring you up to speed on what I've been able to find. If someone else knows about a good flow battery that would be something similar to that we could buy in a residential, use it in a residential area, I would certainly like to know about it, so please let me reply to my video or send me an email through my system, and I'd certainly like to know that information. I'm sure there's a lot of other people that would like to know as well if you can do some kind of video on it. Alright, well that's all I've got for today. Thanks.